I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes now about how we can judge an argument's use of ethos by evaluating its writer's authority. We can define authority by calling it the ability to credibly make claims. A writer can develop this ability in a few ways, and as readers, we can notice how this authority affects our understanding of an argument. How does a writer's behavior strengthen or weaken the writer's post? We can find our answer in the idea of authority. As we examine this idea, we can think about signs we can find in reading that establish the authority of an argument we're looking at. For example, we might find that authority can come from formal sources, or we can judge it based on what we read in kind of an informal understanding. In other words, a writer can show authority coming from education or professional experience, or a writer can demonstrate expertise by describing how the writer's knowledge has solved other problems. So a writer can get formal authority through having degrees or certificates from the writer's profession, or a writer can demonstrate authority informally by showing how the writer has actual knowledge in the subject that the writer discusses. A writer who can produce credentials, such as that degree or that proven knowledge of a subject, can speak with authority about that subject. A writer can also establish authority through a practice of careful citation. A writer who cites sources carefully and accurately shows us readers that the writer has consulted sources and thought deeply about a subject. Of course, this also depends on honesty in the citations. A writer who lies about sources, or really about anything, gives up a lot of authority. It's a severe violation of the idea of ethos. So, as readers, we can judge a writer's authority by looking at the honesty and accuracy of an argument's citations. And finally, we can think about how we see authority in a writer's tone. A writer who uses a neutral, even, slightly maybe even detached tone gives an impression of objectivity and confidence, and this impression leads to authority for the writer. This means that we help ourselves as readers by listening to that imaginary voice that we hear in our minds as we read. A writer with actual authority will often show that authority by creating a tone of confidence, of detachment, of understanding that we can easily identify and respond to. So I hope this lecture has helped you think about how you can evaluate the authority in an argument by looking at formal and informal sources, the way an argument uses citations, and the tone an argument's writer creates. These elements can help us as readers to judge an argument's use of ethos by thinking about how it creates its authority. The more ways we have to consider an argument, the more perspectives that we can look at an argument from, the more ways that we can analyze or evaluate an argument, the more ways we can effectively and appropriately respond to it. And that's why it's important to keep looking at ethos and authority in the arguments we see. As always, thank you for your time and attention.